I preaching the truth. Is God real or is God a figment of my imagination? That's what a lot of y'all be thinking. And it's affecting your faith, it's affecting your belief system, and it's affecting how you view everything going on around you. Because now you assume, man, maybe God isn't real. God might not be real. How do I know that I'm really praying to somebody who's actually tangible, who's actually listening to my prayers? That I'm not just praying to myself, that it's not really just the situation that's going on that's pushing me into believing as a coping mechanism, that I'm not really changing because of the strategies that I'm implementing, and it has nothing to do with the Holy Spirit or power, and it's just me, and it's not that, and it's not real, and I'm really just the spirit that's operating behind these things, and blah, 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 blah. You're thinking this way because you can't see God. He is an intangible, invisible being. You are interfacing with someone bigger than you. And you can't control this interaction. Your senses are taken out of the equation so that you have to be vulnerable to the information that you've been given upon receiving it. You can't test it except to believe and do it by the way he wants you to do it. You can't see him. You can't touch him. You can't feel him when you want. And that's what it's going back to. It's not about him being real. It's about controlling the reality. It's about controlling the perception of these things. You can't put your eyes on him when you want to put your eyes on him, so you question him. You can't touch him when you want to touch him or when you want to feel something, so you question it. But really, you can't feel him when you want to feel comforted at the time that you want to feel comforted, so you question him. You can't smell him when you want to smell him, so you question him. It's about your control, your need for control, and how you cannot control this particular relationship in any aspect. The only thing you can do is be vulnerable and trust him. And so that worries you. You start wondering if it's true, if you're expending pointless energy that's not going to pay off. And I get it. There are many believers who go through the same thing. In fact, I also ask myself this question. Everybody asks themselves this question at a particular point in time. But what you don't want to do is conflate knowledge with belief. Let me explain myself. We know that there is air in the atmosphere. It's called oxygen, O2. Can you see it? Can you see it? You can't see it, can you? But you know it's there. Why? Because of its effect. We know through scientific evidence that there is a compound, O2, that is abundant in our atmosphere, allowing us to breathe. Subsequently enough, this is only on our planet, produced by our foliage, that allows us to breathe and flourish. And it's nowhere else in the solar system. So that's very coincidental. Also, we emit the counter to O2, which is CO2. And that compound is breathed by our foliage and turned back into O2. Very coincidental, almost as if designed. So that's one design that seems to cycle itself so that we can continue to flourish. But we're still asking if God is real. What I'm saying is that we know that before scientists found out about O2, it existed. It just wasn't able to be explained. We just knew we could breathe, so we breathed. But we didn't know how we breathed. Another instance is light. We cannot see every amount of light on Earth. Scientists believe, and have recently come out with a study, and recent probably being in the last 10 years, that there is actually more light on Earth around us than we're able to pick up. We are probably able to see only 2% of everything around us at all times because our eyes, they don't see what is there. They see the light that is able to be received. Our eyes are light receptacles. Our brains make sense of the light we're able to take in and turn that into images. So what you see is not all that's around you. It's just the only amount of light you're able to perceive, which means that there are things around you that you have not been able to see. But just because you can't see them doesn't mean they don't exist. Even the light spectrum, we're not able to see every single color that exists. But what we can see is observed in our rainbow. What am I saying? I'm saying that just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. So when you cannot see it, you have to decide what you're going to do. Speaking of solar system, our positioning within the solar system is third closest from the sun. Third closest from the sun being the perfect spot for flourishing life, because Venus is literally the second planet from the sun, and it is burnt to a crisp. And Mars is the fourth planet from the sun, and it's too cold to live on. We are also in just the right variation degree-wise so that we can continue to sustain life. If we were a bit to the left or the right, respective of positioning in space, we would be too cold, too hot. If Earth spun a little too fast, we would be flung off this rock. If it spun a little too slow, our day would be super long. So in every single instance, and I'm no scientist, by the way, but in every single instance, it seems that we are perfectly positioned with just the right conditions to sustain flourishing life. In fact, and again, I'm no scientist, but the mathematical calculation is 0.00000000000000000, a lot more zeros, 1%, of this being accidental. Google it. So it's not an accident that we're here. It's not an accident how we're here. And it's not an accident the conditions that have been placed around us for us to continue to be here. In any other instance, that would be seen as intentionality, which means that we have the right to consider that there is an intentional being that has placed us on earth, especially when you consider the other two examples that I just gave. So what is belief? The dictionary definition of belief is the acceptance that something is true or that something exists, which means that the notion that there is a God, backed by the evidence of intentional design, seems to point to the fact that there is a God. And then it's your choice whether you want to believe and take that leap of faith that there is in fact a God. Belief is not blind. It is based off of evidence. At least true belief is based off of what has been perceived, based on the things that are around you. Then you make what you can see as a calculated faith leap. Okay, based upon this, I believe this. So it's the same thing with God. I see a lot of things that seem to be perfectly put in place. Therefore, there must be an intentional design. Whatever is intentional in life, if it's intentionally standing up, there was a reason behind it. Nothing intelligent was made by happenstance. So the same thing with us, especially us who is able to desire the reason why we exist. I mean, just think about you. You got so many complex thoughts in you. You were just the result of a random accident. As random as you are, you have so many flaws and difficulties that you wish to discern every single day. An accident doesn't ask why. You are asking intentional why questions, but you're an unintentional being. It doesn't make any sense. Why do unintentional beings have the intelligence to wonder where they came from? The fact that you're seeking for answers for your origin means that you have intelligence. And so you cannot have intelligence that supersedes the cause of your existence. So there must be something more intelligent, someone more intelligent than you that gave you intelligence. I mean, a baby isn't smarter than its parent. So you can't be smarter than the God that made you, because he made you. Therefore, he knows how you operate. And if he made you, he put intelligence in you so that you could start asking questions. So we know there's an intentional designer, but the question is, who is he? And now that's where religion comes in. There are many books that have been transcribed to try to answer this very question. Who is God? What's his word? What does he want from us? And so you have things like Christianity. You got things like Islam. You got things like Buddhism. You got things like Kemetism. And all of those other ancestral beliefs that root themselves in the truth. Again, we have to tackle this with common sense to a degree. What can we perceive? Well, ancient religions also rooted their worship of their deities through the cultural practices that they practiced in the old times. For instance,